Imagine you live in this rural village in Western Kenya. It is calm and everything is normal. You see this man entering your neighbor's home and house. You actually are used to seeing him. You think he's a friend or a boyfriend to your neighbor, so nothing out of the ordinary. You remember you usually see some other different men frequent the house too, but it's none of your business what a single lady does in her house or home. You know this neighbor. She is a nurse in a local hospital in your area. It is also New Year Eve, so surely people are going to visit each other for the celebrations, right? You go about your business. Later in the day, you hear very loud music from the nurse's house. That's unusual, you tell yourself. You hear people shouting from inside. You think you even heard a cry. You listen closely. You hear someone as if they're being beaten. Then you hear screams and something in the lines of, "Why did you call me here to unalive me? Please forgive me. We can talk about this." You and a few neighbors who have now heard the disturbances and are of course worried about the commotion decide to go and find out if the nurse needs help. She gets out, all calm and maybe even smiling, and reassures you that it's nothing. It's her guest enjoying the New Year party she organized. You are confused, but you decide to go your own way because after all, it's New Year and such shenanigans may be expected, although you've never seen such commotion in her house before. Days later, you see police break into your nurse neighbor's house through the back door. You gather along with other neighbors who saw the same incident just to see firsthand what is happening. To everyone's shock, the police find a mutilated body of the same man you saw several days ago. It is now decomposing in a makeshift chicken coop in this nurse's home. It is then reported that the man was being mutilated the day you and other neighbors went to check to see what the commotion from the nurse's house was all about. This is the unfortunate story of Ezekiel Nkeere Gitangwa, who met his untimely end in the most painful way you could imagine. So, who is Ezekiel and what happened to him? Ezekiel Nkeere Gitangwa was the immediate head teacher of Gitangwa Primary School in North Megirango constituency in Nyamira County. He was a family man, married to wife Gladys Bonareri Achoki. He was 47 years old at the time, and like any other person, he had several side hustles, and one of them was MCing. On 30th December 2022, Ezekiel Nkeere Gitangwa was going about his day. All was fine. He was even booked to MC a wedding in Nyamira PAG Church later the same day. But first, he had received an urgent call earlier on and was determined to go attend to the matter before going to the wedding. He bid his family goodbye and hired a boda taxi which ferried him to his first destination, Egesieri village in West Megirango, Nyamira County. Nobody knew where he was or he would be there. It seemed like a secret he kept for himself and whoever he was going to visit. All people known to him knew that they expected him at a wedding later in the day. A few people see him entering Nurse Agnetta Agwata's house, who is also known as Judy Kwamboka. It was nothing out of the ordinary as he was seen there a few more times and people just assumed it is one of his usual visits. Meanwhile, in the wedding that Ezekiel was supposed to be attending, Ezekiel's brother James Maganda was surprised to find that Ezekiel was not at the church despite being the master of ceremony. They had talked in the morning and thought that he would find him there, but he went about his business thinking that maybe his brother was running late. It was until after the wedding when Ezekiel's brother started to wonder why Ezekiel was not arriving and why he was not accessible on his phone. It was rather unusual as Ezekiel used to keep in touch with his friends and family and would never be inaccessible at any time of day or night. Maganda calls his brother's wife Gladys, who is also surprised by the news as she thought her husband was at Nyamira CAG church emceeing the wedding. They quickly realize Ezekiel is missing and they each go to report him as a missing person at the police station. The official statement of a missing Ezekiel Nkeere Gitangwa was filed on December 30th by his wife Gladys Bonareri via OB number 30/01/01/2023. After receiving the report, the police waited 24 hours as is policy, then launched investigations the next day in search for a missing Ezekiel after verifying that his phone was switched off. Inquiries of his whereabouts led the investigators to a boda rider who ferried him to his destination, and these leads led the investigators to the home of one Agnetta Agwata, who is also known by the name Judy Kwamboka. Agnetta is a nurse in Nyamaiya Health Center, a local health center in the area, and her home is where Ezekiel was last seen on 30th December 2022. On arrival, the police found the home deserted with no one to answer to their call. They were then forced to break into the home through the back door to do a search, and sooner than later they found a decomposing mutilated body wrapped up in a purple carpet in a room used as a makeshift chicken coop by Agnetta. The body was identified as Ezekiel's on recovery, and that was on 1st January 2023. It was badly mutilated with all limbs chopped off, then placed next to his body and rolled up together in the said purple carpet. Ezekiel's remains were moved to Nyamira Referral Hospital mortuary for autopsy, while the case was transferred to Nyamira's Director of Criminal Investigations headquarters for further follow-ups and search for the primary suspect, Agnetta, who was believed to be on the run. On launching investigations, the police quickly realized that Ezekiel's cell phone was missing. His cell phone data revealed that the phone was last switched off in a building in Kisii town, and it was believed that Agnetta might be in possession of it. Witnesses and neighbors in Egesieri village reported that Ezekiel was seen being dropped by a boda rider along Nyamira Miruka Highway at Egesieri village on 30th December 2022. He was then seen walking and later entering the home of Agnetta Agwata soon after drop-off. Police reports a few days later revealed that 3 individuals, a policeman, a member of Nyamira County Assembly, and a National Youth Service official, NYS, as prime accomplices and suspects in the brutal mutilation of Ezekiel. Agwata's neighbors confirmed that the 3 men mentioned above were frequent visitors of Agnetta's house and place, with some allegations that the NYS officer was Agnetta Agwata's boyfriend and was spotted in Agnetta's compound on 29th December 2022 during the day. He was also suspected to have been in the house when Ezekiel came to visit Agnetta on 30th December 2022 and is alleged to have participated in the mutilation of Ezekiel. Speaking on the incident, Ezekiel's brother James Maganda reported that on the day Ezekiel went missing, neighbors in Egesieri village alleged that they saw Ezekiel entering Agnetta's home, then after a while heard noises and commotion similar to someone being beaten while they were pleading for mercy. They claimed that the victim was saying, "You my brothers, why do you want to kill me? Why do you call me to come and kill me? Why do you call me to kill me? I was going to church. Why do you call me to kill me?" Another neighbor confirmed Maganda's report, stating that he heard the voice of a man pleading for mercy in Agnetta's house saying, "Please help me, kindly forgive me. We are people, we can talk over this." It is also said that Agnetta put on very loud music in her house, possibly to buffer and drown the pleas and cries of Ezekiel to avoid drawing attention to her house. But curious neighbors took note of the commotion and went to find out what was happening. Agnetta assured them that there was nothing to be worried about, as she had hosted a New Year's party in her house and the guests were just being too loud with the celebrations. Given that Agnetta was a single lady living alone with her grade 3 son, people assumed that Ezekiel could have been having an affair with Agnetta. This assumption led to the suspicions that Ezekiel may have met his unfortunate demise due to a love triangle. This is alleged so as when Agnetta lured Ezekiel to her house, her then boyfriend, the NYS officer, Agnetta was still in her house. It is not clear where Agnetta's son was at the time of the incident. Soon after, authorities working on the case quickly figured that Ezekiel's phone was missing. The phone data showed that it was last switched off in a building in Kisii town and concluded that it was in the possession of Agnetta Agwata, who was at the time on the run. Preliminary investigations from mobile records accessed by County Criminal Investigations Officer Peter Kiboro showed that there was cash withdrawn from Ezekiel's mobile money wallet moments after his death, leading to suspicions that the offenders did not only kill Ezekiel but they also robbed him. This evidence threw a new dark twist into the case, leading investigators to think that money was the main factor in the case. It was possible that Ezekiel's unaliving may have been due to money-related conflicts. The plot widened when two suspects, a boda rider and an M-Pesa lady, were called for questioning as they both received money from Ezekiel's mobile money wallet after his passing. The boda rider confessed that Agnetta approached him, telling him that her phone was overdrawn and requested to receive money using his phone, promising him a percentile of the money received. The boda, seeing this as an opportunity of making free money, accepted the offer and stated that he was given 300 Kenya shillings to withdraw a sum of 3,900 for Agnetta. The second suspect, an M-Pesa lady, mentioned that Agnetta and her boyfriend, who was identified as the National Youth Service official, approached her at her shop to withdraw an undisclosed amount of cash for them, after which they went on a drinking spree. In addition to this, investigators unraveled a series of transactions between Ezekiel and Agnetta days before his death. This outcome resulted in the County Criminal Investigations Officer Peter Kiboro and his team to apply to obtain orders to look into the deceased bank accounts to establish if the suspects also drained his bank accounts. Investigations noted that these new findings pointed towards a deal gone bad rather than the initial love triangle narrative given by the preliminary investigations. More investigations into the money factor of the case revealed that Nurse Agnetta had loaned Ezekiel 3 million Kenya shillings and that Ezekiel was killed days after receiving 2.8 million Kenya shillings loan from a financial institution popular with teachers in the area. Two teachers who acted as guarantors to Ezekiel's loan said that they did not know the exact amount Ezekiel applied for. Neither did they know what he intended to do with the said money. They also reported that Agnetta had turned to them and Ezekiel's friends, imploring them to convince Ezekiel to pay back her debt, but it was in vain. It was also established that at the time of his demise, Ezekiel had not yet committed to settling Agnetta's debt. It may have been possible that Ezekiel obtained the loan to repay Agnetta, who reportedly wanted to buy land. On 2nd January 2023, a day after recovering Ezekiel's remains from Agnetta's chicken coop, rumors spread that the nurse Agnetta had been arrested in Nakuru, but these claims were quickly shut down by investigators as they were false. Investigators then claimed that Agnetta kept on changing her phone number to derail detection. At one moment, it was reported that her phone was found to have been switched on in her workplace, but as soon as the police arrived in the facility, it had been switched off and Agnetta had already escaped. 2 weeks later, while still on the run, Agnetta was reported to be hiding in one of the towns in Nyamira, with fresh leads indicating that she was planning to sneak out of the country through Tanzania to either Zambia or Botswana, where she lived and worked for 1 year. It was also suspected that there could be some rogue police officer aiding Agnetta to avoid arrests by feeding her real-time information about the investigations. These this goes without saying because at one point, a policeman and a member of Nyamira County Assembly were also part of the suspects investigated in this case. Ezekiel's brutal unaliving raised a public uproar, creating a wave of demonstrations throughout the county and country. The public was invested in following this case very closely as the region of Kisii and Nyamira as a whole had witnessed brutal unaliving and torture of innocent people. Ezekiel's case was just one of the many that further aggravated the public, leading to people going to the streets to demonstrate, asking the government to intervene. The anger and the uproar in Nyamira County forced the county commissioner to ask Agnetta to surrender to the police, saying that it was safer in police officers' hands rather than being out there where the angry mob may land on her. This case has a tragic end as it has never been closed and seemed to have disappeared out of the public's radar as fast as it had come in. News channels have since not updated anything on this case, nor is any information on any update available to the public. It is also presumed that Agnetta Agwata may still be in hiding. The wheels of justice are moving very slowly, which is very disheartening given the brutality and pain Ezekiel Nkeere Gitangwa had to endure in the hands of his ruthless killers. Ezekiel was laid to rest in South Migirango, Nyamira County. He was a God-fearing man and loved to sing and lip-sync on TikTok as shown by his TikTok profile. We highlight such cases in the hope of keeping the memory of the victim alive and bring awareness around forgotten true crime issues continuing to haunt our society. We send light and comfort to Ezekiel's family and friends who are forced to live permanently without their loved one. Stay safe and see you in the next video.